So carrying on this morning's theme of combined force, I am really delighted to present our keynote speaker, General Stephen Whiting. General Whiting is commander of US Space Command, the 11th Unified Combatant Command. He is also the designated commander of the multinational force Operation Olympic Defender. General Whiting is responsible for defending US and allied interests in the space domain, providing space effects to joint warfighters around the world and protecting the joint force from space-enabled attacks. Within that responsibility, he leads over 18,000 soldiers, Marines, sailors, Coast Guardsmen, airmen and guardians operating ground and space-based systems around the globe. General Whiting, it is a real privilege for us to have you here speaking to us. The floor is yours. Thank you, sir.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Anu, for that kind introduction. And if I could, Anu, you are just superb as a moderator, and if this whole UK Space Agency thing doesn't work out for you, I think you might have a future as a BBC TV presenter. But truly, truly excellent what he does.
And here.
It is an honor for me to be here today, and I'd like to extend my gratitude to Air Chief Marshal Sir Rich Knighton for the invitation to speak and participate in this important conference. I also want to thank Air Commodore Mark Roberts and the Air and Space Power Association for bringing together this group of senior military, government, and industry leaders. Additionally, I'd also like to recognize Major General Paul Tedman and the entire UK Space Command team for all they do protecting and defending British and Allied interests in, from, and to space. Paul is a dear friend of US Space Command, having recently served as our Deputy Director for Strategy, Plans, and Policy. And I know he is happy to be back in the UK with his family and all of you. And while Paul surely has fond memories of his time at US Space Command, I know after talking with some of you yesterday, what he really misses is the extra 50 yards on his golf drives, thanks to Colorado Springs' 6,500 feet of elevation. But in all seriousness, Major General Tedman played a vital role helping our command achieve full operational capability in December of last year, and we are grateful for his time with us and for the outstanding work of his successor, Air Commodore Darren Whiteley. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of all of our allied and partner military space leaders, as well as the commercial and academic partners that are here. Your participation highlights the critical importance of our collective mission to safeguard our shared interests in space. This marks my first visit to the United Kingdom as the commander of U.S. Space Command. Last year, while serving in my previous position, I had the honor of attending the 60th anniversary ceremony of Royal Air Force Station Fylingdales. The event not only commemorated the station's 6 decades of service as a collaborative effort between the United Kingdom and the United States, highlighting the station's crucial roles in ballistic missile early warning and space domain awareness, but it also embodied what Sir Winston Churchill famously coined as our nation's special relationship. And for me, it was my 6th visit to RAF Fylingdales since 1994, when I was part of a NATO TAC eval team as a young captain, evaluating the station's readiness to conduct its wartime mission. Churchill introduced the idea of a special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States in 1946, during what came to be known as the Iron Curtain speech, given on the campus of Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri. Officially entitled The Sinews of Peace, Churchill aimed to alert the world to the emerging threat posed by the Soviet Union and to emphasize the need for a strong alliance between our nations, including the Commonwealth. Further, he noted in the speech that American military leaders always approach a serious situation by first developing what he called an overall strategic concept. And he explained that after defining this concept, they always move on to the next step, the method. So taking inspiration from Sir Winston Churchill and embracing his stereotype, my goal in the time we have together is to do just that. Discuss the serious situation we face in space, communicate U.S. Space Command's overall strategic concept by introducing our elements of victory, and promote methods to preserve the space domain by ensuring we prevail if called upon to fight. We now face concurrent and accelerating threats in, from, and to space. These threats, which we have discussed already extensively, are no longer theoretical future possibilities. They are now operational realities. The People's Republic of China specifically is fielding capabilities at breathtaking speed, holding space systems in all orbital regimes at risk. Along with Russia, they are deploying counter-space capabilities ranging from reversible, non-kinetic systems such as SATCOM and GPS jammers and cyber attacks to direct descent and co-orbital anti-satellite weapons. Our strategic competitors are also clearly recognize the advantages space provides on the modern battlefield. Russia's aggression in Ukraine shows that forces on land, at sea, and in the air can no longer move or conceal themselves without being tracked and targeted from space or by space-enabled systems. Further, the PRC in particular has built a formidable space-enabled network to close an integrated kill chain in the Indo-Pacific region focused primarily on keeping out terrestrial forces, including our navies, from getting to that region. The lack of common norms and responsible behaviors in space is also becoming increasingly evident. The PRC's recurring launch anomalies generating significant space debris are concerning. Now, we all understand that space is a difficult business, but countries should proactively communicate critical information when a debris-generating event occurs. Delaying bad news only makes the problem worse, and phone calls or posted notifications on known sources of space-related information costs nothing. I urge that the next time China, or any nation, creates long-lived debris in space, they promptly share that information with the spacefaring community. Even more concerning, Russia reportedly has plans to violate the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 by deploying a nuclear weapon in space. A nuclear weapon on orbit represents wanton irresponsibility of a spacefaring nation. Such a capability would have indiscriminate effects and pose a threat to all satellites operated by countries and companies around the globe. Even though we have spent decades in the U.S. preparing our most vital national defense satellites for such a threat, the United States will continue to engage with like-minded nations like the United Kingdom and our other allies and partners represented in this room to ensure that Russia understands the global community cannot tolerate a nuclear weapon in space. Given the complexity and the scale of the threats now arrayed against us in space and the ever-advancing pace of broader space developments, it is imperative to formulate strategic concepts that can effectively address these challenges. Success in space starts with a capable, integrated team. As has been said numerous times already from this podium, space is a team sport. No single nation, department, service, agency, or company can succeed alone. The full potential of space power is realized through the integration and synchronization of joint, interagency, allied, and commercial elements, creating a collective advantage that surpasses any competitor. Our shared missions are the backbone of the integrated space enterprise. U.S. Space Command views them as three moral responsibilities based on our assigned duties and directives. First, we must ensure the delivery of space capabilities to our joint force, our nation, and our allies and partners across all levels of conflict. Modern military forces and our way of life depend on assured access to space. And for the last 35 years, our military services have been sized around the assumption that they will have access to space and space-enabled effects. And frankly, they don't have the force structure to fight without space capabilities. Because these space capabilities are so vital to our militaries and societies, our second moral responsibility is to protect and defend our current constellations against the threats we now see fielded against us. And our third moral responsibility is to safeguard our military and homeland from space-enabled attacks of our strategic competitors, who are leveraging space to make their terrestrial forces, their Army, their Navy, their Air Force, their Marines, more precise, more lethal, and more far-ranging. The space commands of all of our nations must help our joint and combined forces be protected from these threats. As we execute these missions and fulfill our moral responsibilities, we recognize that our greatest advantage from our strategic competitors is trust. Major General Tedman emphasized this during his visit to U.S. Space Command last month when he said, quote, "Trust is the secret sauce of our alliance." Yes, the PRC and Russia are active in the international arena, but they cannot begin to replicate what we have. Relationships forged over the decades in wartime and peace, built on a foundation of shared principles and values, and in the chaos of conflict, we must be able to look to the person beside us and know that they have our back, regardless of the patch or the flag they wear. That's why I value our team. This raises the question, what space warfighting concepts must the integrated space enterprise adopt to execute our missions, honor our principles, and succeed in conflict? While war in space is not inevitable, U.S. Space Command and the Allied Space Commands must be prepared if deterrence fails. For my command, our unique responsibility lies in leading space operations during conflict, a role of all U.S. combatant commands. To help guide our thinking about what we need to be successful in conflict, we have identified 5 elements of victory based on decades of joint and combined force thinking and doctrine. These elements complement and bolster the Chief of Space Operations, General Saltzman's, theory of competitive endurance. By thinking about how our efforts to try to stay in competition in space extend to how we will be successful in conflict if needed. Number 1, we must be prepared to operate through a first strike. Our ability to quickly anticipate, defend against, recover from, and respond to a wide range of scenarios, conditions, and threats will be possible because of the overall resilience and defensive capabilities of our integrated space enterprise. We will enhance the scope, depth, and effectiveness of our resilient options through aggressive campaigning, which will set conditions, shape the environment, and lower risk. Second, we must leverage second mover legitimacy to marshal a capable team across our integrated space enterprise and develop the intelligence understanding needed to counter threats during conflict. Additionally, this legitimacy rests on a commitment for continued leadership through responsible behavior in space and capitalizes on lessons learned during ongoing conflicts. This approach provides greater flexibility to national leadership and strengthens support from traditional allies and partners while creating emerging opportunities for cooperation with non-traditional partners. Third, if we truly believe no single entity can do it all in space, we must be able to integrate and synchronize combined, joint, interagency, and commercial effects. Our ability to lead teams across organizational and national boundaries is enhanced by our command and control concepts and relationships to include mission command, integrated campaign and operations plans, tactics, techniques, and procedures, and timely, secure, and resilient communications across the integrated space enterprise. We achieve integration and synchronization with our allies and partners principally through Operation Olympic Defender, so I'm happy to acknowledge that New Zealand has recently agreed to join OOD, and we look forward to France and Germany responding officially in the near future to our invitation to them to join OOD as well. We are truly stronger together. Fourth, our ability to rapidly deploy, regenerate, and reconstitute space forces at scale is crucial for enabling maneuver and sustaining the fight. We must operate until missions are complete, not until the fuel we launched with is depleted. The ability to sustain a fight over the duration of the conflict requires dynamic space operations, sustained space maneuver, launch on demand, and in-domain logistics. Just like on the land, at sea, and in the air, we need maneuver and mobility and sustainment in space. A space conflict is likely to be prolonged, and we must be prepared to see it through to the end. Finally, our ability to gain and maintain space superiority is foundational to our combined success. The complexity and expanse of space challenges the notion of having superiority everywhere and all the time. However, space superiority can be achieved at a time and place of our choosing, to close friendly kill chains and disrupt adversary kill webs. Integrated space enterprise fires and lethality ensure we gain and maintain space superiority when and where we need, across a wide range of scenarios, conditions, and threats, and as part of a campaign building on the other 4 elements of victory. To reiterate, we do not seek conflict in space. However, our potential adversaries must understand that any attempt to turn space into a battlefield will fail. Our strategic concept is to form an integrated space enterprise capable of operating through a first strike, leveraging second mover legitimacy, integrate and synchronize effects across our multi-stakeholder team, rapidly deploy, regenerate, and reconstitute our space forces, and ultimately achieve space superiority when and where we need it. Discussing what needs to be done is one thing, fully realizing these elements through concrete actions is another. In the 5 years since U.S. Space Command was reestablished, we have made notable progress, developing and maturing our operational concepts and capabilities necessary to prevail in conflict. Foremost among our successes are the strengthened relationships with like-minded and responsible spacefaring nations. These bonds are cemented through the multinational force Operation Olympic Defender. Every day, we collaborate in space across our operations centers and units with Australia, Canada, and Great Britain. Despite this great success, we must continue to operationalize OOD against today's and tomorrow's threats while incorporating new member nations. Our strategic competitors should note that the threats we now see in space are only bringing freedom-loving nations closer together and fortifying our alliances. As a testament to the U.S. military's commitment to strengthen joint and combined space operations here in Europe, both U.S. Space Command and U.S. European Command have installed cadres of space experts to bolster the continent's defense. U.S. Space Command's Joint Integrated Space Team serves as an essential liaison function between our command and U.S. European Command, aligning our global space responsibilities with their regional plans and operations. Last year, U.S. Space Force, U.S. European Command, and U.S. Africa Command established U.S. Space Force's Europe-Africa to ensure they have the necessary expertise to support the AOR's growing demand for space capabilities and effects. General Cavoli and I are working closely to ensure that the U.S. Joint Force and our allies and partners in Europe receive the space support needed across the spectrum of conflict. U.S. Space Command has also made progress incorporating commercial capabilities and partners into our respective architectures, plans, and operations. Our commercial aerospace industries are a tremendous strategic advantage for our space and terrestrial forces, and this advantage has been growing over the past several years. At U.S. Space Command, we see our commercial mission partners and those of our allies as a significant force multiplier. Their integrated capabilities enhance our operational effectiveness, expand our capacity, and increase our understanding of the space operational environment. To expand our allied and commercial advantages, we must effectively share critical information for joint and combined space operations. The U.S. Department of Defense has supported this by issuing guidance to reduce classification levels for certain space-related programs and future system acquisitions. This change will enhance joint and combined operational integration and reduce the 20% tax in time and funding associated with overclassified programs. However, this is just one step. We are also prioritizing enhancing integration with our allies and partners at the collateral level, incorporating this focus into updates for Operation Olympic Defender and our revised commercial integration strategy. So, what are some of the new capabilities we need to successfully implement our elements of victory? U.S. Space Command recognizes that enhanced battle space awareness, for space operations is crucial for successfully operating against the threats we now see in space. Our current capabilities for cataloging and tracking objects are insufficient to maintain our advantage over strategic competitors by 2027 and beyond. For example, we must develop the ability to dynamically track spacecraft in non-standard orbits. Our collective success relies on accurately identifying and attributing hostile actions and intent in space, providing decision makers with greater context and understanding of what's happening in the domain, and providing the tactically relevant SDA information needed to close friendly kill chains and interdict red kill chains. Likewise, we need advanced capabilities to conduct sustained space maneuver so we can avoid threats and investigate suspicious activity. I've seen promising developments in on-orbit refueling and alternative propulsion methods, but we need these systems delivered on accelerated timelines at scale. As my longtime friend and colleague, Lieutenant General John Shaw, has publicly stated, we drive our satellites today as if we're going to church. Our adversaries drive their satellites as if they're going to combat. This mindset must change to realize the elements of victory and protect our multinational interests in space. Of course, we are in regular conversations with a host of stakeholders to address our requirements for enhanced battle space awareness and sustained space maneuver, as well as integrated space fires and the requisite command and control we need. Now is the time for all of us to work together across our nations and organizations to identify solutions that deliver national capability by 2027. Why am I advocating for these capabilities by 2027? We are at a pivotal moment in history. The ongoing conflicts in Ukraine starkly remind us of the unpredictable nature of the global security environment. While the devastation is evident, Russia's ultimate ambitions remain unclear. Additionally, President Xi Jinping of China has declared that by 2027, the People's Liberation Army should be prepared to militarily take Taiwan. Although this is not a predicted date for action, he has issued the directive to his forces, be ready. Just as Churchill felt compelled to highlight the looming threats of the post-war era in 1946, we must heed the clear signals from our strategic competitors. When someone tells you what they are preparing to do, believe them. We must prepare accordingly to safeguard our collective interests in space. Although many challenges continue to confront us, there's also an incredibly bright future ahead for all our nations in space if we proactively create it. Soon, NASA's Artemis program will take mankind back to the moon with a permanent base on the lunar surface not too far after that. In my lifetime, I think we will see the first humans walk on Mars, and we will see commercial industry leveraging the resources of the moon and the asteroids to make our lives better here on Earth. And in my grandson's lifetime, I think he will see a flourishing permanent colony on Mars and mankind wandering further throughout the solar system. But this is a future we must actively and thoughtfully bring to fruition. And I'm proud to stand beside all of you, not only to protect our nations today in space, but to also protect that future which is coming. So thank you once again for the opportunity to be here today. I look forward to joining my fellow military space leaders in the Combined Force panel discussion after our break. Thank you.